There are some docks that will always hold fish, and there are certain docks, I don't care how good the fish are biting, they just don't live there. Buddy, you bit off a little more than you could chew there. That's kind of like a David and Goliath, except David lost. So dock fishing is one of my most favorite things to do. I've done it all around the country, and you can do it pretty much all season long. And one of the things to remember about docks is all docks are is some cover. They're not the structure. I think that one of the biggest key things that people miss is the most important thing in finding fish is the structure, not necessarily the cover. And what I mean by that is the structure is what the bank is made up of, what the bottom's made up of, and all that. A dock just happens to be some type of cover that's over that. Docks are basically, they create good shade for the fish. Fish can get back into them far enough to where you can't get a bait to them. I don't care how good of a fisherman you are. They can literally get to where they feel safe, but so do their prey as well. Great places to hold bait fish, and a fish can spend its entire season on one dock. I mean, heck, some of the docks we have, you know, on some of the bigger lakes, the ends of them will be in 30 foot of water. So a dock will offer the fish a foot of water out to 30 foot of water a lot of times. It has plenty of shade. That fish can spawn on that dock. It can live the rest of the year out deeper, has some brush next to it, and you know, just basically offers the fish everything that they have to survive. A dock can be a great way, day in and day out throughout the year, to catch a lot of fish and big fish as well. Guess we should have fished docks sooner. That's a good one. Look at that one. That's a beauty. It's a beautiful bass right there. That's why docks are so effective right there. Fish. You know, probably one of the biggest features about a dock is it provides shade, which provides fish with that comfort level of, you know, no different than we as humans. You know, I mean, if it's 100 degrees out and sunny, we're going to go find somewhere that provides shade. And it's the same way for a dock, for a fish. They want to get into the shade. But now I always hear people, oh, you only want to fish the shady side of a dock. That's not true. I actually prefer to fish the side where the sun is, because it makes the fish more predictable. If the sun's shining on in this corner, those fish are typically going to sit right in that little corner, right where the shade is. When you get on the side where it's a whole lot of shade, it scatters the fish out. So I love the sunny side of a dock, right on the corners, and those are typically key places. You know, until you put together a pattern, fish can be anywhere on a dock, and sometimes, some days they are, but sometimes they get very specific on a dock. Sometimes they're only back under the walkways. Sometimes they're under the deepest part of the dock. Sometimes they're suspended under the middle of them. So it's just when you approach a dock, you want to try to be as thorough as possible until you put together some pattern. You know, when I get to a dock, obviously I like to hit the closest points to me. You know, usually it's going to be a corner, the closest one to me. And that's the one thing I will say on a dock, especially when it's sunny out. Corners are usually the places that the fish love to sit. I think it's a shade spot. It creates a good ambush, and fish really love them. Something else fish love, ladders. They love ladders, and it's because it's something that hangs down off the dock. They can kind of tuck up under that ladder and makes a great ambush spot for them. But probably my most favorite part of the dock is back behind the walkway, back behind the cable. Fish love to get under walkways. They love to spawn up there. It's typically the shallowest part of a dock, and a lot of times when fish are feeding, they get up shallow. So walkways are very effective. You always want to hit the walkways and give those a good try. But like I said, throughout the season, different parts of a dock are come into play. Summertime, heat of the summer, a lot of times fish will get on your bigger main lake docks, and they're literally suspended out in 20 and 30 feet of water, but they're only a couple feet down. You'll take a jig or a worm, and you just kind of swim it right below the floats on the dock, and a lot of times those fish will swim out and grab it. It's just one of those things where you just have to experiment. Every body of water is different. Every set of docks is usually different. Buddy, you bit off a little more than you could chew there. Was not That's kind of like a David and Goliath, except David lost. You know, one of the big things when you're fishing docks is just considering the seasons. You know, a lot of lakes you'll have docks that are on the shallow side of the lake that are pretty shallow. They might have 6, 8, 10 foot of water out on the ends of them, but then you might have docks over on the deep channel side of the lake where the ends of them might be in 20, 30, even 40 foot of water. So you got to consider the time of year on based on which docks the fish will be on. Winter and summer, the fish are going to be more on main lake docks, where spring and fall they're going to get shallower. You know, they're going to get on those shallower docks, maybe that are part of a cove. This one. Just right up along the side of that dock. I was just working that jig down the side of it and just took off swimming with it. So it's really important, you know, when you're fishing docks, to be really, really good and accurate at what you do. And you can see right here, you know, I can pitch that bait, I can skip that jig way up in there, where if you don't practice that, you can't get that done. Or if I want to pitch way up on the backside of this dock and work it, you know, just parallel right along this edge, that's all practice. A lot of practice. So you want to practice and be very proficient at this stuff well before you get out there on the water. So I can't stress when it comes to dock fishing how important accuracy is. It's a lot different if you're out on a lake like Florida, where there's vegetation everywhere and you can cast basically anywhere and catch a fish. When it comes to dock fishing, it's very, very important to be very, very accurate, because you want to put that bait right on the corner or right in that little pocket or right behind the walkway. But ultimately be very respectful of people's docks as well, because this is, you know, this is somebody's dock. So last thing you want to do, it gives all the fishermen a bad name when you hit somebody's boat real hard. You can imagine that doesn't make them real happy. So, you know, it's very important being accurate. You know, these are public bodies of water that, you know, you have permission to fish it, but those are people's private docks. So be very, you know, considerate of their property. But also, the last thing you want to do is bang into a pontoon boat because you're going to spook the fish. That's not what you want to do. More than likely, if you do that, you might as well move on and get to the next dock. So practice your casting. Be very, very accurate. So here I am, you know, I'm just flipping a big 3/4 ounce jig along these right now. Got a KASTKING Speed Demon Pro 7.5 flipping stick, 25 pound gamma fluorocarbon, and a KASTKING Bassinator Elite 8:1 gear ratio reel here. And you know, this is kind of my go-to when it comes to flipping and pitching a jig around docks. So, you know, docks are a great piece of cover, and that's what typically hold fish on a particular stretch along with the structure. But you also have to pick out the other options that can be around a dock. There could be a brush pile, there could be a lay down tree. Like here, we've got some water willows around a dock. So, you know, always being cognizant of the other covers that are around a dock as well are really important, because sometimes it's the docks that have something else around them, you know, whether it be the vegetation like these water willows, it'd be the docks that have brush on them or what. But always paying attention to the other key features are going to be what help differentiate the docks that are good versus the ones that are not so good. Just like any lake and anything you fish, 90% of the fish live in 10% of the water. And one thing I can tell you, over many, many years of fishing docks, there are some docks that will always hold fish, and there are certain docks, I don't care how good the fish are biting, they just don't live there. When you go to a particular body of water, save a waypoint. I save waypoints on my Garmins every time I get a bite, and what you learn over time is a pattern develops, and you'll start to notice that there might be a stretch of these particular 5 docks where you always catch one, but then there might be 3 or 4 or 5 other docks that you never catch a fish. So over time you learn to pay attention. Okay, these are docks that I need to slow down and really focus on. These are docks that maybe I don't need to spend as much time on because they just don't live around them. So, but here's something to remember when it comes to fishing docks or any kind of heavy cover, is you have to get them on before you can get them in. So you're better to pitch in a place and not get a fish out than to hook or to not ever pitch in the spot and never even get that fish to bite. Don't hesitate to be a little creative, and you know, try to put your bait in places where maybe not everyone else has. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you guys get out there and be a better dock fisherman. Remember, docks hold fish all year long, deep to shallow. That gives them so many different options for catch them. The biggest challenge is just getting out there, figuring the right technique, the right pattern. But get out there, find the right docks, and you're going to catch a bunch of fish.